Hi, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of the SoCal Prep Report. Rich Estrella, along with my colleague Randy Rosenblum, and joining us tonight, Fred Robledo and Coach Dan Davidson of Western High School. And we're going to talk about what's been going on, man. The season's supposed to be starting soon. And before we get into anything, guys, let's just defer to Coach Davidson right now. Coach, they came out this week, said there's possibly another lockdown or whatever. What's going on with you guys right now? Because I know you guys have been working out, but I think there's been a stoppage.
Yeah, stoppage. They stopped having us work inside of the weight room. So we've been pretty creative and created our weight room outside, created 4 or 5 different groups. So we're staying social distancing, 10 guys to a group, making sure we're following all the standards of 6 feet away, wearing masks, keeping the sprays down. So we're trying everything we can to keep pursuing a chance to be able to play. So they hit us, took us a step back, but we're being positive and staying positive and hoping that we can have a chance to play. I think some of it is worried a little bit about county to county and playing one county into another county. Sometimes they get to do stuff like that. So we're just trying to tread forward and seeing if there's a chance for us to be ready, get ready to go. I know my guys are working really tough and really hard. And like many of us coaches, of course, we want to be safe and do everything that we can. But we also want to have a chance to play and let these guys have their time in the game.
You know, hey, Coach, Dan, how do you keep your kids motivated, not knowing if you're going to play?
I think he can hear you, Randy. Hey, Dan, what I want to ask
you is,
you know, I know you're not a betting man, but if you were a betting man, how would you see the odds on you guys getting to play this year? I'm not talking just you. I'm talking about the state in general.
Well, I think if you look at the big picture of everything, I think it was a little bit excited to feel that you were going to be able to play as an entire state and play all kinds of different counties and run over all kinds of different rules that you would have to come in. I think it always made a little more sense to think of staying more inside of your league and inside of your own personal county to give a better chance of actually having a chance to get out there and play. When you're going through something like this, a pandemic, there's so many different obstacles that you have to overcome, and you got to have protocols and insurance and who's going to take that chance. You got to definitely get out there and be safe, but at the same time have a chance to be able to play. And I think as a state, as a CIF, I think they came out with a chance to play 10 games, realized they could lose a few games here at the beginning, but as long as you get those league games in and have a chance to declare a league winner and maybe do CIF, maybe we'd have a little bit chance to be able to play as the season goes on.
Well, it'll be interesting to find out. Let's go to Fred Robledo. Fred, you there? All right, let's try Anthony White. Anthony, how you doing tonight? I knew your stuff would work. You're able with this stuff. I don't think Fred still knows we're on here. Anyways, Anthony, as you know, we're talking about what happened this week. You know, everybody's saying that the possibility of a lockdown. I guess they've stopped, as we heard Coach Davidson, that they're not going to. They're going to have.
You know, I can't hear you, so I had to go on my phone to listen to the live cast.
What do you know?
Well, you know, it's CIF's in a tough spot right now. I think the whole state of California has been on pins and needles. It's kind of really remarkable and actually really disappointing that we're still at the same place we were 6 months ago with the season in question, wondering what's going to happen. I remember people saying, "Oh, what about summer school? But we'll be back into school in fall." And now some schools are in school, and some schools are still doing the distance learning. I think just like Coach Davidson said, believing in a way to come back safely and to do it productively. I think a lot of coaches want to coach, a lot of players want to play, and a lot of teachers want to teach. But we just have to make sure that, you know, we love our kids. We want to be back in the classroom. We want to be back on the field, but we just don't want anyone to die back on the field and back in the classroom. You know, we're dying to get back, but we just want to make sure no one dies when they get back.
Hey, real quick, Rich, I can hear everybody. I can hear Dan. I just heard Coach Anthony White. I just can't hear you. I don't know if there's
playing right
a way to unmute you for me, but I just can't hear your questions, but I can hear everybody else.
It seems like everybody else is playing but the West Coast and spot places on the East Coast. but they're playing. I'm not hearing reports of anybody, actually, anybody dying or anything out there, the youngsters. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying I don't understand how half the country or 3/4 of the country can play and play safely, but we can't figure it out here in California.
I think that's a big misconception. When I say dying by coming back, I'm not talking about, the young 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old students. Right. I'm talking about the grandparents that live at home. I'm talking about the distant family members that might be in a household. Everybody wants to play. So as soon as you put that opportunity out there, all students, all coaches, all fans are going to want to be a part of it. We can look at the other 49 states and say, oh, how come they're playing? How come they're playing? I went to the University of Utah. I have tons of friends that are coaches out there, tons of colleges out there. The University of Utah canceled their last 2 games because of their outbreak. They're in a state of emergency in the state of Utah because of COVID. So you might say, yeah, you're allowed to play, but there's so many teams that have canceled half their season, canceled games, missed games, and doing all and juggling the schedule back and forth, that they are not getting their full season. And I think what CIF is doing is they're putting that time off in order to say, okay, this is our season. We waited long enough. We're responsible, and we won't have to do these cancellations, juggling the schedule, creating buys and doing that stuff. Utah was canceled on a Friday. Okay. The University of Utah, they were supposed to fly out to play UCLA at the Rose Bowl on Friday. We were checking the flight logs. Okay. When the flight did not take off, 10 minutes later, the Pac-12 announced that Arizona State and the University of Utah would not be playing, and they created the UCLA versus Cal Berkeley on a Sunday. So those are the type of things, Coach Davison, playing in a game, imagine if you were playing in the Pac-12 and you got a 48-hour notice you were playing another college team at a different part of the state. I mean, coaches are dying for any kind of hours extra that we can get. But you have 48 hours, you're playing an entirely different team from an entirely different state. Those are the kind of things that I think CIF is trying to take their time on to make sure coaches don't have to go through that. But I know everyone wants to play. Football is the lifeblood, and just sports in general is the lifeblood of youth and a high school experience. And I think everyone wants to experience that. No one's trying to take away any athletics or any experiences from our children. But at the same time, we're in a global pandemic with the leader that's been absent for the last 12 days to update that.
Interesting. All right, Randy, you back? Can you hear us, Randy?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't hear anyone else. So okay. It's good to hear Rich Estrella's voice again.
Well, too bad you can't hear what they're saying on my end. I don't know if Larry's going to get that word.
You want my thoughts?
Yeah, I want your thought on L.A. What's going on out there? City section.
My thoughts are, until we get out of the purple, we're in that purple segment, until we get to the red, I don't see how we can have any sports in the LA city section or in LA County. We have to get it into red. We're in purple now. And with the escalation of the pandemic and COVID-19, I'm really concerned that we may not have high school sports in the LA city section until the following year. I think it's a possibility that it could occur in March or April, but then you start stacking up all the sports against each other. Football can't kick off in January, which it won't. If they even think in terms of getting it to February, I think that may be a pipe dream. So now if you shove it into March, you're starting to deal with all the other sports that come after it. And I think it becomes a real headache. So, how many teams can you put in a gymnasium if you have volleyball and you have all these other sports, cheer and all that? So we got to get it down to that red. I mean, and at that point, can we have enough testing in the city section? I don't know. So I think right now it's a major concern, and I think the LA city section probably won't play. Good news would be March or April, but I really am not optimistic.
We got Fred with us, Larry. Fred, can you hear us? He hasn't moved to my screen. He's frozen in time.
Wow.
I'll tell you this, Randy. It'll be a shame if they can't play, if East LA Classic can't be played. That's one of the big games that, has been around for so long. People look forward to it. It's the most widely attended game in attendance-wise, usually year in and year out in the country. And it's just a shame that all these things at the high school level are just starting to go away. And it's I'm sad to say it. If it happens maybe another year or two, it's going to be normal to do without. And I just would hate to see that.
I think Coach White is onto something, though. I really do. And it's more about come back with a plan and tell us what the plan is. And just like you just said about LA County, CIF, come out and tell us, are we going to play county to county? If LA County is in the purple and Orange County is in the red, are we going to try to move forward in the red section and just play with inside of that sector instead of leaving us out to not know what anything is and just say, yeah, something's coming? Just give us an idea. And I love what Coach White said. Is it's impossible for us as high school students to change a game like the University of Utah did and Arizona State to be able to put it in. There's so many things going in. We can't test our kids. We don't have the ability to do that. We need a guideline to go, and we will do whatever needs to be done following that guideline. I check in 50 kids every single day, and we're checking a thermometer and asking them 8 questions and putting them in groups of pods of 10. We're going to do the things or do it, but just come out and tell us the guideline that you want us to follow. Give us the chance to do it, and then if we can't do it that way, then we move forward from there. But we can't test our kids. It's not the kids playing, it's not the coaches. It's going home to the grandparents and doing those things. And I think it becomes a liability. And is CIF or do the school, does administration, does the district want to deal with the liability that it comes that one of my players goes home, takes it, and they pass, and then they come back out, and what's that's going to come? And people like Coach White and I, we want to play, man. Like, give us an opportunity to play. Let our kids have a chance to play. But who's going to take the liability for that?
Exactly. I see that a lot now.
Nobody wants it.
With testing. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
It's unfortunate.
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So like Coach said, it has a lot to do with the testing. You know, that's the basis of everything. You don't know who has it. A lot of the kids that are healthy, working out with Coach, working out every day, they're asymptomatic, a lot of them. And it doesn't affect the youth as it does, people at adult age. So testing is a must. And the problem is that costs money. Okay. Hopefully we thought we would get some help from the federal government and those kind of things to trickle down all the way to the local sites. But testing is imperative in order to have a safe season. And Coach is exactly right. We want to be able to play. You want to be able to do this. CIF, I believe, is waiting for a plan. If you remember in the summer, I put out maybe the first plan in order to play sports. I kept the 3 seasons. I put basketball first. I put football second in the middle, and those fall sports. And I put the spring sports at the end because I felt that you can control the winter sports more with the gym, it being indoors, it being closed. But now you're a month away. And Coach Davidson here is trying to think about, all right, a month from now, I'm going to have to pass out pads. We have 2 a day. You have all those kind of things that right now sound ridiculous. You can't do that. How can you go back into school when Anaheim Union High School District is not in class? So that means you're going to bring 100 students on campus, pass out gear, do tackling practice, do all these kind of drills, and they can't even sit in the class.
I don't think it's me.
All right.
Yeah. We were hearing some feedback, but Coach White was right on. I mean, I don't know how, if I don't have kids in my classroom, how I bring them on to campus and pass out gear, and then let alone have these guys pass out gear to them and then go take on Buena Park High School. How do I do that? How is that feasibly possible? And then I'm going to tell the rest of our stakeholders in our community that we can't have them in classrooms. So we can't teach them history and English, but we can go out and play in a football game against another opponent. And it just doesn't. I don't see that as much as I want it.
So, Coach, if you were preparing for a game, where would you watch your film? In a classroom, right? So if you're preparing for a football game, they, like you just said, they couldn't be in a classroom to learn history and English, but they would expect you to watch film in the classroom and watch football. That doesn't
I'll give you a little thing off of that, Coach White. I'll tell you a little thing. We did concussion testing, and we could only have 10 kids at a time for concussion testing. Oh. And so I had 10 kids hour at a time. We had to go over 3 different days just to do concussion. So apparently I'm work on the run game over an 8-hour period with about 6, 7, 8 kids at a time to be able to work on something. And that's how I think, Rich, that's how far we are really being able to put something out as a product at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just devastating all the way around, not just for the football community, but all the sports community at this time for the youth. I thought the way to bring it back, I thought that was pretty cool, doing basketball first and then following, the rest of the protocols that way. A lot of our concern we talked last was the possibility of how you're going to have enough officials if you cram everything, into the spring to officiate everything. You have all these sports going at one time.
Yeah.
You have to have assistant coaches.
And I agree with that. And everyone was saying, with the 3 different sports on every 2 months, they were saying we wouldn't have enough ref. So what did CIF do? They put football in a couple sports and then every single sport in the second half of the season and broke it up like that. What I think makes it even harder.
Yeah, so it does.
If you could do it like that, I think you could go back and do it and break it down the other way. But yeah, it's Coach, you're in a tough situation, man. I feel for you. And I talk to coaches every single day from all over LA County, San Gabriel Valley, Orange County, all over, even out of state. And you guys are in a tough spot.
Well, and hey, Rich, I'll tell you one thing that's really more important than even just playing in the games is the kids need to be a part of this and not just part of football. You need to be a part of something, and they need to have something that drives them. And the grades are suffering right now. People say it online. They're suffering because they don't have something that they're fighting for. There isn't a belief that we're going to be able to play. But you know what? We come out, we work, we lift, we run. The kids are working unbelievably hard, but we're at least a part of something. So I'm going to keep working. I don't care if they move this back to January, then they move us back to February and March. We're going to keep working because it allows us to still believe. It creates a chemistry. Today we had a canned food drive. If you guys go on my Twitter account, you can look and see my daughters pied me because we went over 100 cans as a football program. And so we're trying to do creative things. And I'm just blessed to be at Western High School, to be a part of a school that's trying to still keep the kids involved in all kinds of different ways. So even a 2-hour window of a canned food drive, we're trying to find ways to get back on campus to get that. So Coach White, to give you a funny about passing out pads, we only do a canned food drive for 2 hours today. So we are trying to do something to give back to our community. And as a district, we were only allowed 2 hours. So our ASB and our faculty did a great job of putting this event on for 2 hours. And, we're able to raise over 800 cans. But those are some of the obstacles to give you an idea how hard it would be to actually participate in a game. That's right.
When I do my research, you know that. right?
You're just following them. Yeah.
On that, Coach. And Rich, here's another thing. Right behind you, you got a Raider flag. You know that 7 players on the defense of the Raiders were just cleared today because they were around one person that was positive. They were on COVID IR from Monday until what's today, Thursday night, just because they were around one person, the entire Raiders defense. So, I mean, you would have thought from last week's game they wouldn't have had a defense at all, but 7 players are back.
But the good thing is, I keep hearing the common denominator is people recover from this. And I understand that, like you were saying, Dan, there's old people at the house, grandparents. You got to make provisions. Maybe if you're going to play the season, maybe you need to go stay with a friend that doesn't have any old folks living with them. No grandparents, no older parents, so you can protect them. You know what I mean? I mean, the kids got to be kids at some point. I mean, we have to figure it out. The unfortunate thing is this is an unseen bug. Every country's in lockdown. Everybody's suffering. To me, it's not a political football. It's what's everybody else doing. Nobody's come up with a solution for this thing. We just got to try to work with it as best we can. I just really hate to see the kids suffer for this. It's really unfortunate. It really is.
last January
with his grandma. Exactly.
Yeah. So he's moving in. The family got evicted, and so he moved in with his grandma, but the entire household didn't move. So he's got a SOP to sit out 5 games when he moved here. So to give you an idea of going and staying here to be able to play in the game, man, Anthony White, we won't touch that one, right? Because that's a whole other show.
There's more.
You want to bring Anthony and I, but you can't broadcast that one because we'd have a hard time.
I'm not at with the school right now, Coach. I got you. Fred, what are you seeing in the San Gabriel Valley right now with a lot of different people and a lot of different schools up there?
Well, I'm glad that someone can ask me a question and you guys can hear me. First of all,
I know you can see him,
I've had trouble hearing Rich, but I could just tell you, and I've heard all of you guys, and I understand all the pain. And can you guys hear me fine? First of all,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand what everyone's going through. I mean, I can't imagine, my senior year when I was in high school, if I had lost it, if I wasn't able to play sports. Those are memories you're never going to get back, and I totally get that. And when I heard you, Anthony, talk about earlier, you were talking about college sports, and we see how difficult it is just to make that work. I'm covering UCLA right now, and they're doing daily testing, antigen testing. The whole Pac-12 is, and you still have games that are canceled. You see how difficult that is, and you ask yourself, how is that going to work in high school sports if we start in January? And it's such a tough thing, and we're in a situation where when I talk to a lot of schools, the majority rules the minority in this sense, in that the majority of schools aren't going to be equipped and be able to handle all this. They're worried about the finances. They're worried about, some of these schools, especially in the San Gabriel Valley where I am, big Latino school districts, where there might be a lot of families in a home. They're worried about sending their kids out there and coming back. So there's socioeconomic issues there. There's just an array of issues that are just different than college football, pro football, or everything else that we see. And I don't know what the answer is. We hear that the vaccine is coming. That's probably not going to be here for everyone until February or March. What I hear with high school football is that, we can almost forget everything starting in January. Kind of just get that out of your mind right now. And, let's see if we can play a league season, start something in February. Let's see if that's possible, and there could be CIF. But, I think the important thing is to not lose hope, to keep believing that something's going to happen, that something's going to work at some point. And at the end of the day, even if we lose everything this year, and I've been saying this on Twitter and preaching this to people who listen, high school sports will be back. And when it's back, it's going to be bigger and better than ever. There's a lot of talk about club football, and I hear some people talking about that replacing high school football or club sports. That's never going to happen, at least not in my lifetime, I think. There's just too much history. There's especially high school football. It's such a big thing in the community that it's not going away. And when it's welcome back and we're all back out there and things are normal again, I think you're going to see an excitement that you haven't seen in a long time. There's going to be an appreciation for it, Anthony.
I think college football really missed a big opportunity here. At the college level, especially the Division I level, they could have emulated exactly what the NBA did and created their own bubble on their own campus. The dorms are empty because a lot of people are doing distance learning and stuff. They could have rented out an entire dorm, kept the football players in the dorm, have them go from the facility and back. The student athletes that have off-campus apartments, they could have bought out their leases. Okay, they have that much money at those schools to keep these games going. And each Division I school could have done that. And they did.
Exactly. Yeah, I can tell you, Anthony, I can tell you this, like I said, I'm covering UCLA right now. We talk to Chip Kelly every day. Yep. They are doing that. He talks about it as protecting your own ecosystem. And they have guys that are living in dorms that are living in their own little bubble. And the tough part for them is is making sure those players don't leave that little bubble, their dorm, or go out and hang out with family and friends or sneak out. It's hard to do, especially in college.
Like Urban Meyer than it might be for a Chip Kelly. You know what I mean? Because you can make that stuff happen. When you're in two-a-days, shoot, I wouldn't even think about leaving out early. But that's the first thing. Rich, you were talking earlier about the families and things like that. I think that's so important. I mean, with La Mirada and your history throughout all high school, do you see? How do you think it looks in the stands? How do you think that looks in the future?
Through the All-Star games in particular, but even going out covering games, the attendances have been going down quite a bit lately. I don't know if CTE scared a lot of people off or what, but like I said, I'd hate to see this go on. I hate to lose a season, or if you lose one, only lose one, because it become very easy to find other things to do on Friday nights, and you don't want to see that. I'm a traditionalist. I like to see the tradition continue.
Definitely.
I'm not hearing Fred, guys, so expound on Fred wherever you want. I can't hear him at this time.
No, Fred did a great job of talking about what it is about, like UCLA doing it now. And I don't know if they're doing it now, but I think what Coach White was saying is they should have been done this. They've been in a bubble for a while. If you remember when the NBA went to the bubble, they didn't go to the bubble and then start playing games. They went in the bubble for a while, took out their 14, 21 days. And then after their 14, 21 days, then they started coming out and playing. And Fred, if a school like UCLA then has problems, well, then they have their own self to blame that they're not participating inside of games. But the bubble system's not going on. I don't want to talk about schools, what schools do it and what don't. But we all know that the bubble system's not really going on at the Division I level right now for all the schools. We would like it to. I know, coaches and players are talking to me about how they're trying this and how they're trying that. It's really tough to do it once the games are already started, compared to if you would have put this system in play.
Well, guys, nothing's perfect. When you talk about the NBA bubble, you're talking about every team being down there in Orlando and nobody allowed to leave there. Not traveling anywhere. They're all right there. They can't leave. Baseball, when they went to the playoffs, they had their own version of the bubble where they went to some cities and they stayed in hotels. They limited traveling as much as you can. College football, at the end of the day, you've got to leave your bubble. You've got to get on a plane. You've got to go to a hotel. And anytime you do that, you leave, that quote unquote ecosystem, you're at risk. And as you know, it only takes one person, one thing to happen, and then it can spread. So it's not easy, and there's no easy answers. That's why when we think about high school, I was talking to Coach Steve Haggerty earlier in the week about how his practices and things are going, the coach over at Bishop Amat. And he says, having players, when they're with him and they're training and they're working out and they're outside, they don't have any problems. What he worries about is when they go home to their families and, their cousins come over, they have their get-togethers, the things you can't control, and then they come back and they're with the team. That's the big worry when, you can't, there is no bubble environment for high schools. You can't put high school kids in hotels. They've got to go back home to their families and then they all come back. So it's impossible to think that you're going to be able to control that with high school sports. There's going to be a risk. And if we come back to play, just like anywhere in the country, there's going to be a risk. And there's going to be a lot of hope and a prayer. Yeah.
When we're with them, they're behaving. They go on another side of the fence, all of a sudden they start coming back together. And come on, young people think they're invincible. They're not worried about it. They're not thinking about it at the time. And then when someone in their family gets sick or something like that, then it might change the tune. But that's only if it happens to them or if it happens to their family.
Let me ask you this. I since that announcement from CIF, I have a lot of coaches that I talk to, and I've seen a lot of things about club teams that would then take over, and they would create these club teams, $500, $300 a kid, create a team, you practice and then you go out of state every weekend on a Saturday or a Friday night or something like that to play these games in Arizona, Vegas, these kind of things, or a winter circle, all these programs. I understand that they want to help these student athletes get an opportunity to play and have an opportunity and at least get some film, some of those kind of things. Are you guys hearing anything about that? What's the notion? If they do cancel, CIF does cancel the season, are you in favor of something like that? What are you guys thinking?
Well, first of all, if something like that happened, whatever the rules are in California for youth sports, whether you can play or you can't play, they have to follow those guidelines. So if there's going to be club football, right now, they would have to go out of state. And that's really going to be up to those kids and those families. That's something you can't control. When football is being taken away, like I said, I get it. Some of those families, they have a different opinion than you or me might have when it comes to this and what their risks are and what they feel about it. So if they want to be part of club football and they want to pay what it costs to do this, if they feel like this is what it takes to get their son tape out to get to a college, then I don't think we should be standing in their way. That's up to them. But but the bigger argument, real quick, is I hear people saying that here comes club football and it's gonna take over high school football and this is gonna be the new normal, the new future. That's never gonna happen. That's just never gonna happen. It may take advantage of this right now while it's out, while football's not there. But when high school football returns, there's no way club football, the cost, the insurance, everything, it's going to work.
I think you're also missing a little bit of Coach White too. It's like a double-edged sword. Also, does a coach have enough confidence, Anthony? You and I are the same. We always wanted our kids to go out, part of 7-on-7, winter circle, go out of state to camps. That's more you and I style. But you also know there's a lot of coaches out there that don't want it because of the recruiting, and they're worried about the player because they're not worried about their own self getting their kids the exposure that's needed to get them to the next level. So you and I don't really worry about that, but I wonder where some of these coaches, where they're worried about send them into Winter Circle or Utah. I sent 5 kids to Utah because the camp was going on and those things. For me, I want these kids to have an opportunity. The biggest thing is I have 5 or 6 kids that could probably play at the next level on my team right now that is getting no exposure at all. And they weren't getting a lot last year because we had a pretty good, solid team. And so now this year is their turn to shine and trying to do some things to get it. And they're not getting anything. One of our wide receivers, very, very small recruited. He went to Utah and was the MVP of the wide receivers there. And he's not getting any attention because he played behind the Savage brothers last year, which, hey, Utah is one of them, as you know.
Yep.
You got to get your time, and you know how it is. You got to get your time. You got to put your time where it's your senior year, and you got to do it. And we got a couple of very good seniors that are ready to play, but they don't get to go play. So that's what I think, Fred. I agree with you that they're not going to replace high school football, but there is other avenues to maybe have a chance for these young players to be seen and go on into the next level. And so
I think the winter circle's doing a great job. I've heard Stars does always a phenomenal job. CRS and Orange, they all do a phenomenal job of helping student athletes and getting these things. And that's where 7-on-7 kind of came in the spring to help these kids supplement some of those offers and reps. But you're just hearing a lot about the club sports.
I do have some doubts. I saw
on all the rules that are going on.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Fred. Take it. Yeah, I can't hear Fred, so I don't know what's going on. But no, go ahead. Let him continue. I can tell him.
Go ahead, Fred.
Oh, what I was going to say is, I saw Coach Chris Four put out today. He was sharing one of the football leagues that he expects to start in Southern California, like a football league. I just don't see how something like that is going to be possible. I don't think there's going to be, if there's no high school football in Southern California, high school football or high school sports, there won't be any youth sports here anywhere. There won't be a high school football league that starts up. And like Dan was just saying, it's not just football. this is all sports, club soccer teams are going to Arizona and Utah. Softball teams are going to Arizona, Utah. They're going where they can play, and I don't blame them one bit. I talk to these parents all the time. I know a few people personally who have kids, also in football that are going to camps or going out of state, and they're spending a lot of money, but they're doing what they can, especially these ones that are seniors, to give them some sense or feel of a senior year that they're not getting in high school. So, I don't know that I would, that if I had a son or a daughter who's a senior right now, how comfortable I would feel personally. But I think these are personal decisions that they all have to make until high school sports are here again.
For sure. I don't believe anything, a MAGA coach like Chris Ford would say. I mean, a couple months ago, he was even questioning about if masks are important. So I don't trust him when it comes to anything, when it comes to athletics or sports or the severity of it. He seems to make everything political, and that's just not the way student athletes or schools should operate. So, but what were you going to say, Rich?
Continue on. Just carry on. I'm just trying to zero in on what Fred was saying. I was trying to lip read, man, but I'm not that good anymore.
Sorry about that.
That's
Coach David,
right.
how many student athletes do you have coming out? How many days a week are you going? What does it actually look like on the field, in the weight room, those kind of things?
So we're going 4 days a week. We take Tuesday as our off day, and we come in, we lift for about an hour and 15 minutes. We do some type of conditioning piece for about 20, 30. And then we it's tough because you got to stay inside of your groups. So inside of your groups and going, you can't really share bags and stuff. So we're very creative about doing stuff inside of our individuals. And then inside of our team concept, we kind of set up the lineman being there. We're a no huddle team, you know that, Coach. And so we're trying to practice putting our plays in and going through it. A lot of times not even having a ball on the field and trying to do those type of things. But at least we're together and we're flying together as a team, and we're moving as a team. And so we're trying to keep our guys in pods, and it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of time, and there's only so much time in the day. We're in, as we're running into problems where our administration has to be there. So if we're practicing, our administration has to be there. So we're not going Saturdays. Thanksgiving's coming up. It makes it really tough for, to ask our principals, assistant principals and stuff to come out throughout Thanksgiving, where at a normal time at that, we would lift in the morning, come back in the afternoon. You know how we do it, and make use of our time. But, we're just trying to find ways, Coach. We really are. And for us, very much like you, as you know, we're very much family oriented. We love our guys. We're invested in them. And so that's why we're doing our 4 days a week and trying to find a way to make it work.
I feel for you guys who are there. I feel for you guys.
Sorry, Coach. One second, Fred. The Anaheim Union High School District, you guys are all distance learning, so no one goes into school right now whatsoever, correct? So December 1st. So that means you have your freshman team that have not attended one class at Western High School. They come in, and their first class is actually with you, seeing a teacher in person or seeing an instructor in person, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what they see. They've never had a class, and we were on the process of, as teachers, coming on and start teaching December 1st, and we we're going to teach those 3 weeks. And then when we came back from Christmas break, we had the freshmen coming in the first week of January, and then the rest of the school coming in after. To be honest with you, I think we're probably in trouble for that. Being back in purple, I don't really see that coming back in effect. So we're going to back it up. It's going to be really hard for us to sell that we're going to participate in sports before we get to participate in actually teaching.
I'm hearing in the area, the freshman numbers are down because usually you can recruit in your hallways, you can do all these certain things to get more freshmen out. But right now you're kind of just hoping the kid. I mean, obviously you have an incredibly successful program where the kids want to be a part of it, but you're talking about other schools, other players that may not have been as successful that are praying to recruit their hallways. How do they get their freshmen out? That's what I think a lot of coaches are going through right now. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
not face to face. We're not raising money. The school is not going to have the gate to help fund the other sports. And so when we start doing there, you talked about funding for testing. How about funding for our sports? We're not getting additional money from the district from not even forget football, all the sports where there's no money coming in. And I'm blessed to have Coach Luthke and Miss Quintana, our ADs, who do a great job of facilitating the money. But not every school is like that. And not every school has the athletic directors trying to be creative and trying to find ways. So I am blessed, just like you said, I'm blessed where I'm at, but there's a lot more obstacles that's going through out there, Coach, than what we realize.
And I even saw in the spring when in March, when we went on this lockdown, they they canceled the spring seasons of baseball and softball and track and things like that. And some districts were even holding those stipends hostage. Here you are trying to coach and keep your players corralled and do that, and they're holding those stipends hostage. And the same thing, I hope the same thing doesn't happen for coaches like yourself and sports like yourself, because right now you guys are working. You don't even know if there's a season, and God forbid, but you could see some districts saying, well, there's no season, so there's no stipends. And why
you're right on. I couldn't imagine. We have been going since March 11th. When we were in complete lockdown, we were doing Google Meets 3 or 4 times a week. We were having team meetings. We were sending out workouts. We're sending that stuff out every single day. I mean, Coach, I'm telling you, 6 days a week, we were sending stuff out, watching videos, putting things in, doing everything. For me, like like you and I, Coach, it's not as much. But man, our assistants, and they've been grinding since March, and I can't even give them the $3,000 that I'm supposed to give them. And so for all the people out there listening, yeah, that's right. The assistant coach putting all those hours. When you're complaining about Johnny not getting that ball, he's working year round for $3,000. That's what he's getting, and I am worried about that. You want to know the truth? I am worried about the stipends and what's going to happen for them, because it's very unfair on what's really going on about all that as well.
Fred, you guys would know more about this than me when it comes to stipends. I just talked to an athletic director last week who said that he feared their district is about to make that call right now to cancel winter sports because they don't want to pay those stipends. And if they can cancel it right now, that they don't have to, and then they'll make a decision in the spring later. We just seen, I think it was it San Bernardino school district that canceled sports for the whole year? I think they made that decision yesterday or the day before. They've already made the decision that, not sports, school, that they're going to be on distance learning the rest of the school year. They're not coming back to campus, which probably means no sports for them. So
Union High School District wouldn't take care of the stipends. Just because in the past, they've done a good job of making sure taking care of we'll just call it extracurricular, right? Like in order to cover everything. In the past, the Anaheim Union High School District's done a great job taking care of the extracurricular. As far as an announcement on distance learning, whatever, the time frame that you put in, I remember as a teacher, we did so much stuff in the summer to prepare for this hybrid. We were putting all these hours in for the hybrid and how hybrid's going, and now here we are and just about to be in December, and we still haven't done anything with hybrid. So Fred, like you're saying, there's a lot of different obstacles only on teaching, but in playing and just being on a campus.
I feel for you coaches. I don't know how you deal with all the kids. Everything that you hear and you read psychologically, how this is impacting them, not being able to play and being at home as much as they are, and just everything is interrupted, and you're sort of their counselors on the field, right? You're not just coaches, you're counselors. You're kind of everything for them right now. I think this might be, forget a football season. This might be the toughest thing you've ever had to do as coaches. Am I right?
If you ask Anthony White what he misses the most, it's putting the arm around the guy and telling him you love him. That's the thing, what you do. Through all this, like not even joking. Yeah, I have my mask on. Yes, I have my gloves on. To put the arm around and tell him and remind him that you love him, and remind him that you're here for him and that you're fighting and you're fighting for the entire Western High School and the reputation of all the years on it. That's what we miss the most. And that's what the players miss the most. So when you're saying about counselors, you're darn right. And that's exactly what it is, because that's the interaction that they get from us as from coaches, especially those who are passionate about why we do this thing and why we're all about it.
Absolutely. For sure.
And that's a great point, because the football team does become your family.
Rich.
Yeah, I'm back. Hey, Fred, I finally got you. Sign back
nice to hear you.
I could see you moving, man, but I couldn't hear you. But anyways, yeah, this makes it rough. And Anthony, I remember you were telling me some stuff about when you first got to Buena Park, how a lot of kids needed this team. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, definitely.
They benefited big time because of the stuff you saw and the stuff you took care of. Not trying to embarrass anybody, but every school has challenges with some of these kids. And man, Buena Park had a few.
No, definitely. Coach Davidson, is exactly right. Just like I was mentioning earlier, to put it in perspective, and, as a coach that's been in it and build a program, and now that I'm kind of on the outside and I see a lot of different programs, Coach Davidson's freshman team, just like Buena Park High School's freshman team, all these other schools' freshman teams for public schools, if they are doing distance learning, his freshman team has not met another teacher face to face. The only person or the only adult they have met from their school, most likely, is their coaches. That's number one. Number two, for a student athlete like me that grew up without a dad or without a father figure in the home, those coaches were that person. And now we are taking that away from so many student athletes in California and throughout the nation. And these are pivotal years in their life, when you're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and sometimes 18, to take that male role model out of their life and to put them on a screen like on TV or something like that. That's what's killing the coaches. That's what's killing the players. That's what's hurting the most. And what I pray every night for is that I hope the administration, I hope CIF, I hope the parents, I hope the students, and I hope the coaches themselves, I hope all of them understand and realize what they lost when it was gone. And so when it does come back, like Fred says, that we never take it for granted again. We pay these coaches what they deserve, the administration, that they back up these coaches like they deserve, that these coaches, go the extra mile, and these parents start appreciating and doing all these things, because this is what's going on right now.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned those stipends, because Raul Lara once told me when he was at Long Beach Poly that his stipend was $6,000 a year. Yeah. You know how much time it takes to put a team? You guys both work in the business.
That's high. $6,000 a year.
Well, he's dealing with Long Beach Poly, though. Think about that, though.
That's good, though.
You got 6,000 kids in that school, and I mean, you go through a lot of them. But yeah, this was a while back. He was telling me maybe it was $3,000 a year. I don't know. It was something that I thought was not worth it. I mean, I shouldn't say not worth it if it's your passion, but he wasn't a teacher at the school, so he was a walk-on.
That's true. Yeah,
that's all they gave. Hey,
I'm going to go off what Fred said. Fred, I wouldn't coach club football. I don't coach because of club football. I coach because of what Anthony White's describing about being a mentor, being a father figure, and doing. That's why I do it. That's why I don't leave Western High School. This is my calling. This is where I belong. Coach White and I played at the beginning. He was so good to us. He was so kind to us. He knew what I did when I started there. And he helped me and talked to me, and him and I talked a few times about, hey, you'll get there. Just keep them on the track. And so that's why, to me, club football will never work. There's too many guys that wouldn't coach club football because it's not the passion of why we do it. We do it for different reasons. Does that make sense to you, Rich?
And the way that both of you are speaking from the heart right now, and I can feel it through our little monitors. That's the reason high school football will never go away. It is that.
That's right.
It's exactly what you're talking about. It's not just the football. It's everything about it. So I give so much credit to you guys and what you do, the hours that you put in, the money you make, what you do year round. And I think it's important right now to let kids know that, I know how bad this is, but they're going to be stronger on the other end. They're going to come out of this stronger. No one's gone through this in any of our lifetime. I have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, and they asked me about this. I said, hey, look, I'm going through it for the first time. My dad, who's 78 years old, this is his first time going through something like this. No one has had to deal with this, and we're all in it together. And don't let this be the end of the world. Don't let this get you too down, because we're gonna get on the other side of this. It's gonna take some time.
I agree, and I'm glad. That's why I liked how Coach White put the rest, the political part of it, and it's something started coming out political, and you just put the rest. We're not doing this for any political reason. We're not getting involved in the political of this. We're talking about a chance to have our guys come out and compete, but do it in a safe manner. We're not doing it for trying to go this guy against that guy or any of that. We're just trying to come out and put a product that is safe, give us an opportunity. What can we do in order to make this work? And understand that the administration has to be involved, and the athletic directors and our athletes, but we also have to teach school. And are we able to go out and teach our kids inside of a classroom? And that's why Coach White's done it twice. Our freshman kids have not had teachers. They haven't had people on campus. They have only met the freshman football coach. That's the person that they're with and around. So they're not getting the grooming that needs to come into place on all this. And we will conquer it. We will overcome. And I agree with you, Fred. This is the first time in any of our life that we're doing it. And we will conquer it. We will overcome. But as of right now, it's hard, and it's tough, and that's why we're here, and that's why I'm going to be crazy, and I'm going to still go 4 or 5 days a week, and they're going to tell me I can't play, and then I'm going to just keep doing it, and we're going to keep fighting. And if we don't get a game, nothing's going to change on me. And we're going to create our own games and our own opportunities.
I think you have to.
Way to do it.
I think you have to adopt that attitude, like it's still going to go forward. You have to do it because it still may. It just might go forward. And you don't want to get caught off guard. You want to be prepared for the time when it does go forward, because I'm hoping it will. I'm still optimistic.
I hit you up before we came on camera, and I said, hey, are you still doing the All-Star game? And we talk about opportunities. We talk some winner circles, some same things like that. And you're like, I don't know how many people we get in the stands, funding. This is a platform we would use as each school to put up some type of sponsorship towards you guys to give these guys an opportunity. What if we can say vaccine, whatever. What if there's a good plan in place in March or April that allows us to interact? We're back to school, we're teaching, we're doing it, and kids can come. We need to have an avenue for these kids to have a chance to come out, to be recruited, to have a chance to move on into the next level. And that's why I hit you that off air. And I wasn't going to bring it up on air because I don't want to get involved in any of the stuff to it. But that's why I think it's important. And if we lose this season,
you're not the first one.
Yeah, if we lose the season, there's some other opportunities. And I know you guys have been doing a great job with the 605 game for all those years, and you broadcast it. We're going to have to come together. That's what we do, right? A lot of coaches come together and say, what's the plan in place so we can still get our athletes recruited, and so we can give them still a part of competing and learning how to play and giving them an opportunity to go do something like that.
Yeah. Coach Davidson, they start on your stadium yet?
Yeah. Don't, Coach.
Why are you laughing? Coach? Why are you laughing?
Coach.
That tells me Coach took a shovel out and dug up a hole.
No, what I'm saying is this is a perfect time to get that done.
Yeah, well, it's still, it's a perfect time, and it's still sitting there just as it is. We have the groundbreaking. I have the groundbreaking dirt on my desk right now.
Good for you.
Now it's still in the bottle. There's only one little bit of it. We haven't had. I still hear that it's coming. Now I just Coach White, I just tried to get him to turn the field, and got a goalpost, and the goalpost is still there. So I don't know if I'm getting the field if I can't get a goalpost moved. So that's cold-blooded, Coach White, man. We off air. I'm gonna get you.
No, I wanted to check. They didn't build our Buena Park's new stadium until after I left, but we got it approved while I was there. And then when I stopped, then they started building. So I don't know.
That's
what couldn't wait to get rid of them.
Yeah, as soon as I'm done, Coach White, they'll have a new stadium. Don't
I think you'll get the ring though, or 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll keep going.
You've been out there talking to everybody. What's your assessment? What do you think? You think we're going to be able to play this year or not? What do you think based on what the people you've been talking to?
Yeah, I think nothing's going to happen in December. I think we can kind of throw that month away and see what happens when we get into January. I think there is some hope. I mean, clinging to hope with football that maybe they can have a league season that starts in February. Again, this all depends on where we're at, where the numbers we're at. Will this vaccine come out, sooner rather than later? But I do have some hope that there might be a spring season. Now, what we do with football, would you just cancel it altogether? Or could you move just football to the spring? Because football is so important. They've been at it for so long. I've been told a lot of the coaches that I talk to now. I remember last August when they were putting the CIF calendar together. A lot of the coaches were adamant about, we don't, if there's a 5-game season, we want to make sure it's a league season, cut the non-league games or whatever. They're to the point now where they're like, if we play 5 games, 3 games, heck, if we play 2 games or just 1 game at this point, that would be better than nothing. Some kind of reward. I mean, you talked about the All-Star game, Coach. I think at this point, they want to be able to go out there at least one Friday night and have that experience. I hope that it's more than that. I do think at some point this year, as we get into February, March, or April, I really do think that, kids are going to go back into school, that there's a possibility there'll be some sports. How they're going to put it all together, I don't know. The one thing that's great about Rob Wygod, at the section office and at the state office is they're not closing the door on anything. They're leaving everything open. They understand right now. Believe me, they want to play. They have to follow the state guidelines, CDC, everything. They want to play, and if they get that green light, they will. And I think if they had to push football back, regardless of how many players you might lose in football, whether they go to other sports or whatever, I think they would still push football back into the spring if that was the final option. I really think so.
Fred, do you feel like the CIF kind of put themselves in a corner trying to do all sports at the same, in the time frame that they did? Did they put themselves in a barrier? For instance, why couldn't you be doing cross country? Volleyball works, like Coach White put out earlier, put them in a gym, do a 3-ball rotation where that ball every single time is getting wiped down, have a plastic covering in between the nets. The kids never interact and touch, and spray after every time. Did CIF put themselves in a burden by trying to keep all the sports on the time like they did? Coach White put the thing out there a long time ago about some other opportunities. Why didn't they take football out of the equation, take football out of it, and try to attack some of these other sports that maybe could have still participated? You're telling me in baseball, you have the same interaction as football does? And did they put themselves in trouble, Fred, or is that something anyone ever asked to CIF?
Well, I think you're right. They when it talks about the seasons, there was a talk at the beginning, do we want to have a shortened 3-sport season that started in January, and they made it a 2-sport season. And I think what you're talking about is the fall. Could we have had some sports in the fall, like cross country or maybe some of these other sports? It still would have been up to the state. It still would have been, I don't know that we would have been able to pass some of these local guidelines that would have allowed for any sports. Could they move baseball up and had that plan for January and softball and move football back? Yeah, I think they could have. I think the pushback they were getting from baseball people was, hey, look, we've already lost our sport. Like the spring sports, they felt like we already lost most of all of our season. So we don't want to be the guinea pigs that you throw out first. And if it doesn't work, then we've lost 2 seasons in a row, all for football. That's the pushback from those coaches and those teams, which I kind of understand.
And I understand, but you're in a pandemic, and what you have is close contact. I mean, no matter who wants to argue, it's about close contact, wearing a mask, doing those things, right? So the sport of football, Coach White and I, we scream and yell if we don't get 11 hats to the ball. Mm-hmm. And so our entire program is based on interaction of basically an entire team. There's 22 guys at the end of every play. We're excited when we have all 11 guys at that hat. And so why wasn't there ever a chance to say this sport has less chance to be contact than this sport and try to build something in? That's why I like Coach White's, and it wasn't perfect. Coach will say that it's not perfect. It was an idea, but he was trying to put something out there that could be controlled in a gym or it could be controlled outside. Right. And start trying to do that instead of just saying, well, this is the winter sports, this is the fall sports, this is the spring sports. Throw that out the window. I mean, and get rid of that. And let's talk about which sport is the safest to try to play right now. You know, and so that's what I'm talking about, Fred. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you know, if you were doing it that way, you know, you look at they're trying to play volleyball right now. That would have started in December. Well, volleyball's indoors. You're right. That should have been a springboard. Soccer, which they have in the spring, that's when you could probably play right now if you were going to try. If you're going to plan this out and be smart about it, that's an outside sport.
They're all playing. My girls have played 5
right,
weeks in a row in volleyball
exactly.
right now.
You know, the volleyball. I just did a story of volleyball this week. You know, there's no way that they're going to be allowed to go indoors anytime soon. So that's almost like a total wash. That should have been a spring sport. But you're right. I don't think they looked at the sports and thought it all out like the way you just laid out, because if you did that, you would put football in the spring. I will say I did hear from a lot of coaches that said that if you started football in the spring and you went into the summer, that you would lose. That all of those Division I kids that are on scholarship or whatever, they would have never had a chance to play at all because of spring football, what their teams are going to, or early summer. But Fred, I think they're going to lose those kids anyway, right?
Fred, you're going to lose those guys. Why would I play Kane Savage in a game in February when he can be an early signee, which he was at Utah?
Exactly.
I would be completely against what I'm about. I would tell Kane, you cannot play for me. I didn't have Kane. No offense to anyone, I didn't let Kane play in an all-star game. Sorry, Rich, because he was leaving the next week over to Utah, and so I didn't have him participate in that game. So they're going to lose those guys anyways. And I think that, to me, the CIF, I get them and I understand, but you're going to lose those guys for the school. 99.5% of the kids aren't going on to move on. We would still love to coach those other kids and have what Coach White has said 2 or 3 times already, the interaction of the mentorship and the guiding and the stuff like that. I just think the other sports can be done in a gym. They can be done outdoors and we can have our protocols in place a lot better than we can have protocols in place for football. That's all I was saying, Fred. I didn't know if there's any talk like that.
Summer, the type of things I was thinking about was you can play volleyball at the beach. You could turn that into a beach volleyball season. You can play lower level basketball games outside on those basketball courts at your school. You can play tennis outside. You can run cross country, like Coach was saying. You can do those things and think outside the box. One thing that I think that CIF and the state have had to think about is the effect of Title IX. And when Title IX, and when you say, well, football is king and we need to have a football season and we need to have a full football season and bunch all the other sports, and you start cutting some other sports, those are some of the things that might come into play that CIF and the state might have thought about, where you want to keep everything on a level playing field and you just want to, do the status quo and see what you do. The thing that also hurt CIF, in my opinion, by bunching all the sports, is that now you lose tons of dual sport athletes. Someone that plays, soccer and runs track, or football and track, or basketball and soccer, something like that. Soccer and football, those kind of things. When you bunched all those sports, you lost a lot of dual sport athletes.
That's what we talked about. The small schools would be at a big disadvantage if you truncate the seasons and push them all into one, in the spring. Yeah. It'll just hurt the small schools. All right, I got Larry in my ear telling us we got just a little bit of time left, but I'm going to start with you. Give us a parting shot. Your assessment of what's going to happen here in the future, if you can.
What's going to happen in the future?
Look in that crystal ball.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think the honest answer is that nobody knows. If I have a crystal,
he's honest.
I wish I did know. I do think that we're going to see high school sports this year. I really do. I don't think it's going to be in January. I think February is a stretch, but I think come March. I just have this faith that the numbers are going to be down, that I think kids are going to be back in school in some kind of a hybrid role, which will allow sports to continue. I think the big question is football and what do we do with it? And you guys had some suggestions here. Are we going to be able to move that to spring if we had to cancel it in the January and February? Will that work, while you're sharing it with soccer fields and whoever you have to share time with? I mean, I don't know, but I know that they don't want to lose football. When I have these private conversations with whether it's people at CIF, or Nassetti at the state office, they don't want to lose football. They realize how important it is to the schools and to everything. So I really think they're going to have keep their options open as this goes forward. And I wouldn't be shocked if it was moved back into the spring. I know it would be crowded, but I wouldn't be shocked if they allowed it to work somehow, or at least told some leagues, look, if you can do it, you do it. Some areas, if you can do it, you do it, and go from there, because it's going to be different for every school district, for every school. But I think they're going to give people, a lot of leeway in terms of doing the best they can for themselves.
Crowd everybody into the spring. Anthony, you're going to be out there refereeing, man. You're going to have to do 2 or 3 sports a day. You'll be doing basketball, in the afternoon, and football at night, and who knows what else. Anthony, what is your assessment on the way out?
I think that the way things are going, to put it in perspective, there was 189,000 new cases today. There were 1,800 deaths today. And it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you guys have followed all the way back since the 4th of July, after the 4th of July, we got our big spike. After Labor Day, we got another spike. After Halloween, we're seeing another spike. Then we're going to have Thanksgiving. We're going to have another spike. And now we're going to have Christmas, and New Year's, which is going to be even another spike. I don't see it slowing down in the way we are. We just got a 10 p.m. curfew. So even if we had a varsity game and it starts at 7 and ends at 10, I mean, we're breaking curfew. Those kind of things scare me. I think that we're going to move the sports back. I think, just like Fred said, we're going to go league by league. If you want to run your league, you're welcome to do so. They're going to have waivers out there. They're going to have no fans in the stands, and at least the kids are going to be able to play. And I think they're going to go league by league and give it to them. That's the only way I can really see it happening. I'd love to say I see the season starting on time and stuff. I just don't see Coach Davidson, or any coach for that matter, handing out gear in 2 weeks and starting practice. I mean, some schools are lucky enough to use a ball. Some schools are lucky enough right now to go full team, or to have their whole offensive line push a bag at the same time, or rotate. We all see the college games or the NFL games. They don't even want us touching anyone else. How are you going to tackle another kid from another school that you don't know? So I just don't see that happening. So I think we're going to go to league, and they're going to move it back. But I really hope everyone masks up, is safe. And, I feel for all you coaches, Coach Davidson. I feel for everyone, and just be safe,
Coach, you're the one you're in the mire right now. Your final assessment, what are you thinking?
I think they're going to do it very close to what Anthony just said. And what I think is going to happen is they're going to come out here in January. They're going to give us a 3-week window of getting ready on this time frame. And then inside of that time frame, they're going to back it up week by week and seeing if you can go. And then they're going to open it up to allow a league to make a decision and take the pressure off of just themselves and put a little bit, take the pressure off of them and put pressure on each district and each league. And then like Coach is alluding to, you're going to have a league that has 2 or 3 different districts inside of it. How does that work? How does that look out? And so I think what they'll do is they'll alleviate some pressure off themselves and put out something along those lines. I really hope we could get in 3, 4, 5 games, something like that inside of a league. I believe you have a way better chance of getting some league ball in. But like Coach Weiss said, Thanksgiving is next week. Are guys going to stay home? Are people going to go out and wear a mask? Are we still going to have people arguing about the election or whatever? Are we going to actually, as a society, follow that it's okay for someone to ask you to do something and you think you're above it all, and so you don't wear a mask or you don't go out? And just be respectful for others and show love to what we're trying to do. And so if we don't have a spike, if Coach White is wrong and we don't have a spike after Thanksgiving and Christmas, they're going to put something in place in January And after they put something in place in January, hopefully we'll have a chance. And if not, we're going to lose that first sports season, and then maybe something they'll try it again in February or March for the second set of sports of their season. It's just
very good. Well, we'll see what we can do about the All-Star game. I like your idea to get something for the kids going on, maybe at the May or June, like we normally do. We'll have to see what happens. Hey, off the topic.
I've got to jump off real quick. I've got some breaking news. It looks like Dorian Thompson-Robinson and some might have tested positive, and other players might have to go into quarantine. So UCLA may or may not have a game on Saturday against Oregon. So
wow,
I've got to jump off because I've got to work on this with people. So yeah.
Hey, thank you, Fred.
What a note to leave you on, because this is the state of where we're at. I mean, this is
exactly.
We're just talking about UCLA and how safe they were trying to be, and it just takes one, and then everyone's quarantined, and this is the news you're going to see later tonight when we post it. So,
wow.
All right, Fred, get back
all
to
right,
work.
thanks, guys. All righty.
Slouching here too long with this. All right, that goes Fred Robledo. I hate to lose him right now, but guys, I really want to thank you for coming in tonight. There's just so many directions this thing can go right now, and right now it's just not going in our direction. It's just not, and I'm very disappointed right now. But I'm going to hold out and be optimistic as I can. Love to see the season go. We got big plans for the football season and the sports season in general. With the SoCal Prep Report, we're going to do some wild things this year, and but we're going to have to hold our breath for the time being, because we just don't know, like you guys, we just don't know what's going to happen right now.
Awesome.
It's so unfortunate.
Hey, Rich, thanks for having me. Coach
Appreciate
White, a pleasure, as you know. Being a part of the SoCal Prep Report is very, I'm passionate about it, because I know you're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it to try to promote. And I just thanks for, spending a good Thursday evening with us, trying to get it out there and put some heads together. And hopefully CIF is doing the same thing on a daily basis.
Well, it's good to let people know what everybody's thinking. You guys are in it as much as anybody can possibly be. So we're getting good information out, and that's what we're looking for, really. And Anthony, I know you're still close to everything. I know you still are. So it's impossible for you not to be. And I'd like to thank you both for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure we're going to talk again in the near future.
To all the parents and the coaches out there, everyone feels for you. And if you're a parent, send an email to your head coach. I know Coach Davidson's hustling out there, and all his assistant coaches. Say a prayer for those guys, because those guys are putting their heart on the line, and they're keeping hope for our kids. And every day's a battle. I know that, Coach. When there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and the only hope you have is to get a light, those are the things that's really hard. So I commend you, Coach. Keep it up.
Hey, go you on Saturday, right?
That's right, baby.
You guys.
Yep.
All right. On behalf of Dan Davidson, Anthony White, of course, we had Randy Rosenblum with us and Fred Robledo. I'm Richard Estrella, saying so long from your friends here at the SoCal Prep Report. We'll be back with you real soon. Let you know what we're going to be up to. Until then, everybody be safe out there. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, guys.